All right, and we are live with Masterclass Wednesdays of Sample Serve. How you doing today? I'm Joshua Paul, product manager of Sample Serve, and I have with us Russell Schindler, the CEO of Sample Serve. Say hi, Russell.
Hello, how's it going?
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're going to be talking about drinking water and wastewater sampling, digital platform that we've created for you guys. It is called Sample ENV. It is a all-in-one hub for all kinds of users. We have a special use case for every kind of user that you'd be, whether it be the project manager, field tech going out in the field, lab people that are accepting samples, whether you're in-house or at a lab, and also features for reporting, graphics, tables, all kinds of stuff. We have special features that we've been implementing that we'd like to show you today that are specific to anybody in charge of drinking water plants, wastewater plants, going out in the field having drinking water, any kind of situation like that. Russell, anything you'd like to add?
Anything where you're, putting a sample in a bottle and got to get it to a lab.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And also not even collecting, just collecting data. Even if you're just going out in the field and collecting data,
Yep.
this is a really good tool for that. Whether you're doing just collecting data or taking samples, works both ways.
Or a combination thereof. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes you got to collect a bunch of data and collect a sample, and it's perfect for that.
Right. So Russell's been out in the field lately. Russell, you just had a trip down to Georgia recently and some other places.
Yep.
We've been talking to a lot of drinking water companies and some wastewater plants. And Russell, you've been listening to these guys, and we've been getting a good feel about the pain points of the industry.
Yeah, so we started in the groundwater business, right? Doing groundwater sampling because that's kind of where I grew up as a professional. But putting a sample in a bottle and getting it to a laboratory is the same mostly, no matter where that sample's coming from. So we've adopted the ability to do drinking water first. We landed a pretty good contract doing a bunch of sampling in Texas, and it was a natural progression, and people asked us basically to start doing wastewater. And so I was down in Georgia, helping a company get set up on wastewater sampling. So we've learned a lot about how that works. There's obviously a lot more frequency. They're sampling constantly every day, the same locations over and over again, obviously. So we've kind of worked out that workflow so that it's as efficient as possible, including, putting labels at the time of sampling and then getting those samples to the lab. And a lot of times if the lab's there, they've got their own little in-house lab where they're doing some of the tests, and then they're shipping some off to a third-party lab. So you're really going to have two chains of custody, and our app is already accommodated for that. So we can, you can collect a bunch of samples, and a couple of bottles go to the in-house lab, and a couple of bottles go to the third-party lab, and we can handle all that very efficiently.
Yeah, and we got a lot of good information. One of the big things that they were talking about, that we've noticed in the industry, all this is a lot of it's done currently on paper. Everything from planning out the sampling and the monitoring to going out in the field and collecting the data, and that causes a lot of errors. Be it either handwritten things are hard to read, and they can also when you're typing them into a database, the transcription errors, and also events can be missed very easily this way.
Yeah, especially in wastewater plants, it's not the same thing every day. They'll have, a daily thing that you're supposed to do, and then they got a weekly thing, and then they got a monthly thing, an annual thing. So the frequencies and the types of samples you're going to collect can vary wildly from day to day. And, it's just human nature, right? You're going to sometimes miss one of those things. People make mistakes. Somebody calls in sick, someone else is supposed to do it, but they weren't aware of it. The instructions weren't necessarily clear, or they're on paper. They just didn't have that piece of paper with them. So that's really what we've designed, and the ability to make sure that if you do have that variability, that no matter who's doing the sampling, it's very clear and it's very apparent what they're supposed to do each day, which bottles they're supposed to fill up, and what tests they're going to be running for that particular day.
Right. So let's get into the solution that we've developed. Sample Serve is it's an all-in-one hub for environmental professionals and drinking water, wastewater professionals. And the biggest advantage, is all digital. So everything is automated, essentially. We have an efficient scheduling platform where it's easy to schedule out your sampling events, your data collection events far out into the future. And it's very hands off in a sense that you can create a sampling event and you can have this automatically duplicated over the course of how many days or weeks you want it. Kind of like when you're scheduling something in Google Calendar, and you want this to repeat over several days or once every, the first week of every month or every Tuesday or every day of the week at this certain time. You set that up, you customize that, and then now those sampling events are automatically created. And if those sampling events can be missed somehow, that it'll also alert you, via text or email or phone call, so that, if there is like a morning shift that forgets to, go out and grab a composite sample somewhere in the plant, they can, that they can always know that that's going to be collected. And if it's not, then they'll get an alert. All kinds of users can get alert. It can be the field staff, or it can be the plant manager or the PM, anybody that's, out there that needs to know about this.
Right.
And also, go ahead.
On that note, there's in the Georgia client, they wanted an alert if a bacteria sample hadn't been received by the lab by noon.
Right.
And, so if it hasn't been received, even though it may have been collected, but they, put it in the fridge, somebody else is going to deliver it, they forgot, so it never got to the lab. They want to know if it isn't there by noon, that an alert would go out and they will text people, the manager of the plant, so that they can make sure it gets delivered. They can find it and get it delivered, or go collect a new one before it's too late and they get a violation.
Right. And some of the other problems they've been running into is like data validation. Anybody can write anything you want on a piece of paper. The paper's not going to tell you, hey, this number is too high, or hey, write a note because this number is off,
right,
or something like that. With with digital tools, this can all be built in, and we've allowed users to customize what the validations are. Would you like a warning? Would you not allow them to do something? Would you like them to have something required? All kinds of validation built in that is very customizable. And
the user can put guardrails on the values of the data. So for instance, if your pH is below 5.5, you may be able to allow that, and it's up to you, but you'll get a warning. It could send a text message to somebody. Whatever the result of that outside the guardrails value that you're looking for, you're able to set that up.
Right. I forgot to mention too, if you have any questions or comments, like put them in the chat box at any time and we can get to it. And even when this is over, comment something, and we always look at these and we reply to comments and everything as well. And if you know of anybody that, this video, this masterclass would be helpful to, give it a share to them as well. I think we're going to advance here. Once again, digitized all-in-one platform. You can do this entire process without using paper. Typically when new users start using it, we like to say, hey, use your old system, just to be safe. But we guarantee you, after a while, you're just going to ditch the paper process.
We recommend when they're adopting this to run it in parallel.
Yeah.
Keep the old method and run our method until you're comfortable and you're confident that our method is going to work for you. There may be some adjustments we need to make to accommodate your specific needs, but run them in parallel. And then after, typically a week or two, they'll stop using the paper method and just go straight digital.
Yeah. And some of the key features that we've added for wastewater and drinking water clients are the recurring sampling events. Before it was just, you just create a sampling event, like groundwater people, they'd go out maybe quarterly monitoring. So this wasn't necessarily needed for them, but it is also still nice for them as well. So recurring sampling events are really easy to schedule. You can make sure you have all your sampling events scheduled on the field app for your field technician to go out, and he or she will know exactly when those will happen.
Yeah,
and then
open up that day's events and everything's right there.
Right. And then real-time data capture, you can capture everything in the app, from GPS, you can capture photos, you can get date and time stamps. We have areas where you put signatures in there. There's custom forms available. You can design any kind of form you'd like. There's all kinds of data points that you can put in there: number, text, GPS, even timers, where you can put in a timer, you can start a timer, you can leave the app, go back in, stop the timer, all kinds of options.
Yep.
and it's really built for high frequency sampling. And then the nice thing is too, is that this is kind of the cherry on top, is that we have built-in reporting where you can, and quickly upload your lab EDD or all your data, and it's point and click reporting. You can create graphs, you can create data box maps on maps. You can do any kind of isochemical contours if you even want to. I know this isn't really applicable to wastewater plants, but it's your options are really limitless.
Yeah.
So here's the field app itself. There's all kinds of options on here. You can connect to water meters. There's sync indicators to know everything's updated. You can sort. You can add new locations in the field. So if you don't know necessarily where you're going to be sampling, you can always add a new location. You take photographs. You can grab the GPS coordinates, and you can use that map to find locations. And there's all kind of notes that can be passed along. And it also tells you all the kinds of bottles and information that you need as well. And here's the forms that you can generate. You can generate, timing forms, and you can also add all the validations that you need, whether it be if you want something required, if you want it within a range, or if you like a warning or something like that. And the alarms and data validation is really important for, quality control, because, we've ran into a lot of scenarios in all types of media where, numbers are getting entered in wrong, or they're not getting entered in at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, it prevents a fat fingered kind of thing where maybe you typed in a pH of 15, which is, doesn't exist, and it'll just won't let you do that. So,
yeah, and it really ensures, accuracy, and it makes sure that, when you're putting in the data on the back end, on the reporting and everything, that everything's going to at least be there for sure. And it's not going to be of a different format or type or, kind of number wise.
When you're doing data validation, a lot of companies and everybody doing it on paper right now, they're validating the data, a week or two later. Mm-hmm. Well, quite frankly, it's too late. You want to be able to do the data validation right at the time of sampling, make sure that data is in fact accurate, and that way you don't have to worry about fixing things later.
Right. And seeing is believing. Here's you're editing your field forms. You can add data validation rules in here. Here's an example. You can have like a require comment or prevent numbers to be put in, all kinds of allowances. And then you can also have people require like a comment. Like here's one where, let me pause this real quick so I can explain this. Here's one that's built in that says, hey, you are, what's it say, 178,000 meters away from the documented location.
Right.
Obviously they're not gonna be that far away, that's states away, but if they're 50 feet away, that means they're gonna be at the wrong location, and it'll know that.
And there may be a reason. They just have to document the reason why. It was pouring down rain. They didn't want to bring their tablet out of the vehicle. They left it in the vehicle, and that's a legitimate reason. Mm-hmm. You collected the sample, but you're going to at least warn them, and then they have to write the reason why.
Yeah. So say, hey, I was in the car, or the location moved that day, and this is the reason why. Yeah. So you can have all those options in there. You can also make it so fields are required, and you can also make it so fields are a special type of format as well, which is very nice. So benefits for plant managers, the biggest benefit is you're going to have a dashboard that shows all your upcoming sampling events, and you can edit those whenever you need. Now, a lot of it's set it and forget it. Once you create your sampling scheme, once you create all the events that are going to be automatically reoccurring, you can always go back in there and edit one individual event. Let's say it's a holiday, and you're not going to need, that big long list of samples. You're only going to be taking a bacteria that day because you're going to have limited staff available. You can go into that specific day and you can change that work scope just individually and have that not affect anything else. It's kind of like, once again, like a Google Calendar thing. Would you like it to affect this event or all the following events?
Yeah, and I can tell you from talking to plant managers, their biggest concern, is they're not the ones out there collecting the samples, but they're the ones who are held liable if somebody forgets a sample, or there's some parameter that's maybe out of compliance. They want to know that as fast as possible so that they can maybe make corrections or make sure they go out and collect that sample. So that's really the biggest thing, is they want to be able to get notified as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. And the biggest benefits for field staff is, you're not dealing with notebooks and paper anymore. You're not re-entering data. You're not, spending your time filling out, paper forms, which is when we talk to field staff, that's one of the biggest things that they like about the mobile app. And they can easily see what's coming up next, because when you open the app, it shows you all the next upcoming sampling events right there. You can download it. You can go offline if you need to. You can collect the data, go back online, uploads the data automatically.
And also, we design it to be very intuitive. I'll just give you, for instance, I was training a guy down in Georgia, a young guy, probably in his early 20s. And, I thought that I was going to have to train him. Well, I gave him the tablet, and next thing you know, he's like, several steps ahead of me because it was very intuitive.
Right.
And young people who grow up on mobile devices, they're able to, see and they understand how they work. Older people are a little bit slower. I happen to fall into that category, but I'm kind of one of the exceptions in that I work with these things all day, every day.
You said it, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm the exception though. But the young people, especially, they're able to pick it up. It's not like you have to have extensive training. It's really kind of just handed to them, and they can, just give them a little bit of instruction and they can figure out the rest themselves.
One of the things they also like is it generates your chain of custody for you automatically. It knows all the data, it creates a chain of custody for you. These chain of custodies can be customized, and they can also go out and share that chain of custody with whoever they need immediately, digitally. And it works really nice with the lab app as well, which we'll show you later.
Yeah, it saves the field techs a bunch of time, which they obviously like as well.
Yeah. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet is that, we do offer the ability to print labels for your samples in the field at the time of sampling as well.
Yep.
That reduces a lot of errors on the bottles, and it also saves time because, you just sign your name on the app. It already knows the date. It already knows where you're at. So It throws that on the label as well. And it has all the other information on the label too.
And their thermal label printers printed, they're with a thermal label printer, if you opt for the in the field printing. And it's on a polyvinyl label, so it's totally waterproof. It won't smear, won't wash off. It's a really good label.
Right. We also offer the ability to pre-print your labels as well using a laser jet printer, and so you got all kinds of options. And the secure digital chain of custody, this is one of our patented features that offers the ability to essentially sign your name and transfer that chain of custody to the lab or to another user instantly. Makes it really easy, saves a lot of time on paperwork.
Yep.
And then when all that data gets sent to the laboratory, whether you're using an in-house laboratory or whether you're sending samples out to a individual laboratory that's a third party, labs can use a lab app, which is for free to use to the laboratories. They can accept these samples coming in. They can also see the chain of custody coming in, and they can, import that data once they, receive all the samples. They can receive that as a data file via a CSV file, PDF, JSON, any kind of format that they'd like, and they'd be able to transfer that into their LIMS system or any kind of database that they need very easily.
Yeah, so lab people like it as well, just because it saves them from having to, log all that stuff in manually from somebody's handwritten notes, which they may or may not be able to read.
Right. So, a good case study that we've been using lately is we kicked off a Texas drinking water program. The state of Texas samples their drinking water facilities, hundreds of drinking water facilities around the state, and they're sampling these every single day. We have up to, I think, 30 or 40 samplers out in the field every single day. Not us, but, contracted with the state of Texas. And they're out there, every single day taking samples. It's over 64,000 samples a year. And they're loving it. And it's saving a lot of time.
You got one thing I'll correct on that slide. It's actually 7,200 separate facilities.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds. I was actually just going to ask you, isn't it over 1,000 facilities? Yeah.
7,200. So, there's a lot of data. It's being used every day, all day. And, so we can handle the big projects.
And it's very similar to what other states' programs are doing. The nice thing is that, what's going on here can be easily manipulated and changed to fit any other kind of program that anybody else is using.
Yeah. Even if it's a small, a utility where they just got maybe a couple hundred samples a year, this will work for that as well.
Yeah, still the same use case. So next steps, I believe, are, if you're really interested in, trying us out, a field trial, you can go to sampleserve.com. You can start a free account just to try it out for drinking water or wastewater. The media is, we can open up the specific type of workspace that you would need, and we can show you around the app. Just schedule a live demonstration with us, and we'll show you personally how you can get set up. It's very fast. People get surprised how easy it is to get started. All you really need is a tablet. You don't need the field printer right away, but it'd be nice to get one and sooner rather than later. And you can get your whole facility set up within, I'm going to say a week, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, it's surprisingly simple is what I like to call it.
And what we charge is more than offset by the savings that you incur.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The ROI, return on investment, is very quick.
Yeah. And if you stop missing samples, if you all your data becomes suddenly a lot more accurate and efficient and transferring efficient, that's going to be a huge time saver. So we're past our 20-minute mark, Russell. Any final words?
Just go to sampleserve.com. You can get started pretty easily.
Perfect. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Right, we're having one next week, Russell?
Yeah, we'll be there.
All right. Yeah. Look out for next week, guys. Thank you. Give us a share, leave a comment, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.